Now, you may be a little tired of turkey, and with Christmas just days away, you may still need a fairly easy main dish to please the crowd.
How about prime rib? I think that will do. So we went to Hilltop in Virginia Beach for tips on how to make this meal an extra special one that will wow your guests. If you're hosting the holiday dinner this year, you may be wondering to yourself, what am I going to make? Well, we've got the dish for you. We're in Virginia Beach in Hilltop at Burton's Grill to give you a meal to remember. We're in the kitchen with Executive Chef Chase Barton. And Chase, it's a tough thing to know what to cook for so many people when you're entertaining. What do you have for us today?
I find the easiest way to cook for a large number of people would be to get a large piece of meat. And today we're going to do that with the prime rib. This is a 4-rib roast. You can go larger or smaller. For every rib that's on the roast, it'll feed about 2 people. The ribs have actually been removed and sewn back or tied back on, and the ribs are there for support and flavor. But you can actually see that there's an incision right here where they've been cut off and then tied back on. So now I'm going to rub it in a little bit of canola oil, and then I'm going to add my seasonings. My seasonings are a mixture of salt, pepper, white pepper. There's a rubbed sage, ground rosemary, ground thyme, and a little bit of granulated onion and garlic. Just pour a little bit all over. You want to rub the whole thing down. I've made a larger batch ahead of time, and then I can use that for other things, dishes I might be using. But we're just going to grab a little bit here. Sprinkle it evenly across the prime rib. And then once you've got a nice even distribution, you want to rub it in. You want to get the seasoning all over, even the parts of the roast that you wouldn't really eat. Because what's going to happen is when it's in the oven, the fat is going to start to render off of it, and that fat is going to season our sauce that we're going to make with it. Now I'm just going to throw it in my roasting pan. You do not need a roasting rack because of the bone structure at the bottom of the rib is going to be our rack for us.
All right, the prime rib is seasoned, and now it's just going straight into the oven?
Yep, I got a 450-degree oven. We're going to throw it in there for about 15 minutes so we get nice caramelization on the outside of the steak.
So high heat first, and then you have to keep checking on it, right?
Yep. So I'm going to timer for 15 minutes, and after 15 minutes, I'll cut it back down to about 325 degrees and let it cook. This one will probably cook for about an hour and a half afterwards. The larger they are, the longer you have to cook.
About an hour and a half after you start, I know you put in these vegetables. What are they? And do you just kind of cut them up and put them in the pan?
Yep, these are sort of just rough chopped, large pieces. I have carrot, celery, and red onion. These are going to go into the bottom of my pan. There's a lot of fat coming off of the meat in there, which is going to create a liquid that they can cook in. We're going to add those about a half hour before it's finished. And they'll start to roast down. And what that's going to do is later, when our meat is resting, we're going to take the vegetables and the liquid in there that's remaining, and we're going to make an au jus sauce. Well, I've just checked the temperature on there, and it's about 120 degrees, so it's time to pull it out and let it rest. And you can see the bits of meat that have stuck to the bottom. Those are going to be really good flavoring for our sauce.
Out of the oven, and I know this stuff is really important, isn't it?
Yes, this is called the resting period, which is very important. If you were to cut into this meat right now, you'd have juices everywhere, and juices everywhere means you got flavor everywhere. So we're going to let it rest, covered in aluminum foil, for about a half hour. It'll continue to cook. The temperature will come up to about 125 degrees for rare, 130 degrees for mid-rare.
While our meat is resting, we do have some other work to do, don't we?
Yep, while our meat is resting, which will take about 30 minutes, we have to make our au jus, which will take about 30 minutes. Okay. So it works out pretty well. Right now I've just taken the same roasting pan that we roasted our meat in. I put it over a medium-high heat, and once it starts to smoke a little bit like this, I'm going to take about 3/4 of a cup of red wine. I'm just going to deglaze. And the red wine is helping to get up those little bits of meat and fat that have been cooked onto the bottom there. So after we've deglazed the pan and the wine is just reduced just a little bit, I'm going to throw in 2 quarts of beef stock. This can either be homemade beef stock or store-bought. I'm going to throw in a little bit of fresh thyme, 1 teaspoon. A teaspoon of rubbed sage, it's a dry spice. And I have about a large pinch of rosemary that I'm going to take, and I'm just going to kind of crush it with my fingers to try to get the oils out of it. Give it a stir. And then after this comes to a boil, I'm going to let it reduce for the half hour that we're waiting. It should reduce roughly by half. So there we have our finished product. It's still very watery or soupy, like a broth, not thick like a sauce. That's going to be perfect with our prime rib. All ready to slice it up. Now it's very important to make sure that we remove the butcher's twine that was tying it and keeping it all together. I'm going to put a little bit of the au jus that we made. You can put that right on top. We have a recipe for a creamy horseradish sauce. And to me, the perfect side for a dish like this is a nice baked potato. These are potatoes that we scrubbed the night before so they get nice and clean and they dry out. Put a little bit of margarine and salt on there and bake them for about an hour. And they come out perfect like that. A little sour cream, butter, bacon, chives, you're good to go. Prime rib with creamy horseradish sauce and a baked potato.
You know, we're always hungry on the morning show, but doesn't that look especially good?
My mouth, yeah, it's watering right now. That looks great.
I know. I'm hosting for Christmas,
Okay.
and so that's the kind of meal that I think I could make. It's you do a little work at the beginning, and then kind of put it in the oven, let that do its work, and then work on it. In between, you can also entertain.
Exactly,
So that's kind of a good meal.
I like it,
We
too.
talked with Chase about more tips for cooking for a crowd. He has that in our exclusive sit-down interview at fox43tv.com. Also there, you can find all the recipes there. Just click on the News at 7 tab and then go down to Recipe Box. So good stuff there. Thanks to the guys there, Hilltop in Virginia Beach.